So Asia is increasingly important geostrategically and geoeconomically, the latter especially to a trading state like Germany.
Well, this was
and
early.
At the same time, Berlin has for quite some time equated China with Asia.
I really dislike this controller.
China policy and vice versa. So this overdependence on China, especially economically, is now seen as a challenge for Berlin. And Berlin,
what's going on?
In the context of also these,
I'm actually just listening. I hit the button early, and I'm listening to this report from Deutsche World Germany about how the presence of the Thai king in Bavaria has been causing the government of Berlin a little bit of problems. So it's interesting, but whatever. We'll just keep on moving along. How's it going tonight, everyone? Let me just get everything here settled in. This whole control board for YouTube gets a little bit wonky, and so I'm trying to set up the stream for the time, and I ended up hitting live stream. So we're a little bit early. I still have a couple housekeeping things to do. Hold on one second. All right. Who's out there? Oh, Rusty, happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I know we talked about this last week, but still it was kind of an impromptu thing that I wasn't sure about how we're going to do it tonight, but thought we'd just come and, go on and do it all, do it up. Yeah, there's part of me that thinks I should wait till 8 to really get going. But let's just start anyway. We're going to do it a little bit early. That way we can continue on. And so how was your Thanksgiving? My Thanksgiving, pretty good. I got to see my parents and my brother and his family, and we're all very close. And so made a hell of a meal. I'm still full. I only ate the meal today. I only ate one meal today, which is so we had turkey, of course, and that one we deep fried. And if you've never deep fried turkey, it's really a nice way to do it. So you measure about 3.5 minutes per pound. And we had this monster bird, 23 pounds. Actually, my brother was kind of worried that it wasn't going to fit inside the fryer. But 23 pounds, so it took about 1 hour and 10 minutes. At 350 degrees Fahrenheit, the oil. We use peanut oil. But so what the interesting thing is that this is something we did back maybe 12 years ago when I was at my brother's house in California for Thanksgiving, back in 2008. That was the first time we did the frying. And so the frying, what we did is we took the fryer, filled it up, and duck. So took the duck, seasoned it, whatever. Put it in first. And the interesting thing about a duck is because the duck is so fatty. When you fry it, it renders out really what's kind of a tremendous amount of fat. So when you finish frying the duck 15, 17 minutes later, there's more fat than there was when you started. So you've got now a mix of duck fat and peanut oil, which is a great combination, I guess. If you like duck fat. And, I wasn't too sure. So between the duck and the turkey, decided, we need to fry French fries. So prepared some Brussels spuds and sliced them up. Actually, as the oil was heating on the first run, about 275, dropped it in, blanched it for a bit, and then pulled it, let it to cool, and then we fried the duck. After frying the duck, then we did the French fries, so duck fat fries without much effort. But I did do a batch. We did do a batch before we started with the duck, right? And I've always kind of been, skeptical of this whole duck fat fry thing. Like it was a big hype. I don't know, 10 years ago or so, right? There was a big hype about it. There was a lot of people, oh my God, duck fat fries, duck fat fries. But I had a lot of duck fat fries, and some places I had fries where basically they kind of took duck fat and they sprayed it on top. And I was like, what are you doing? You're spraying fat on my fries. That's not really very pleasant. And so for me, it's always been kind of nondescript. And like, I always kind of wondered, why are you putting, what benefit is there really to duck fat frying? I mean, you're charging us a lot more money for the French fries, but what's the benefit? And so we fried a batch of French fries in virgin oil. And that's the key, it's virgin oil. So the fries did okay. The actual duck didn't really caramelize. The skin didn't caramelize. We're cooking this thing to 165, 170, and it's kind of like pale in color. So, which is the oil needs to break down a little bit. Fresh oil, virgin oil needs to break down a little bit and before it gets really, golden. And so I don't know how much of that has an effect on it. But after we did the duck, we did a batch, we did all the fries. So I took a bite of the fry from the batch that we fried before the duck in the virgin oil. And there is a bit of a difference. There is a bit of difference, but I'm not clear on whether that's really a matter of, like I said, the oil being virgin and difficult to work with, or was it really an impact of the duck fat? Maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Rusty? Are you convinced with this duck fat fry thing? Me personally, I don't know. Yeah, and I had just only got here to the roasteries about 6:30 to start setting it up and even to send out the notices. So we've been cooking all day long. And so today, what else we cooked? We cooked the duck, we cooked the turkey. We also made my brother made mashed potatoes. My sister-in-law made roasted Brussels sprouts with cucumber and zucchini. Very good. What else we have? They also got some ham from Honey Baked Ham. So we had a lot of food. Man, we had so much food. It was ridiculous. And so what else we had? We had sage and sausage stuffing. I said mashed potatoes, sage, sausage. And then for dessert, we made up. So as I was preparing the stuffing, right? The stuffing. What's up, Di? How are you, my friend? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Welcome. So as I was making the stuffing, so the stuffing was sage, sausage, and a bunch of stuff. And you take 2 Pullman loaves and then you slice them. I mean, you cube them, but I cut off all of the crust, and so I got all this crust. I've got this whole big bowl of crust. So I thought, what am I going to do with this thing? So I decided that I was going to make bread pudding with it. So I got bread pudding. My nephew wanted to have pumpkin pie. We had pumpkin pie. And then, I've been telling them let's try this whole tarte tatin thing that I've been wanting to do for a long time, where we're using a vegetable sheeter to sheet the apples rather than core and quarter them and then, do the traditional in the pan with the crust on top. I've always wanted to do the sheeted one. And the problem is you get a sheeter, a vegetable sheeter from Japan, and it's like $350, which is, it's an awesome piece of equipment, but it's like, man, $350. I just never spent the money on it. And so recently, I just discovered that KitchenAid has an attachment for their mixer that's a vegetable sheeter. I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. It's $99. So I was like, $99? I get a 20% discount at Williams-Sonoma. So I was like, oh man, it's like $85 or $80. I was like, all right, $80, done. So I went to my local Williams-Sonoma. They're like, we don't have it in stock, but let's order it. We'll ship it to you. So they shipped it to me. I get a notice on Monday that says, "Oh, your package has arrived." Excellent. When I go to work Tuesday, well, it's not there. So evidently, it was delivered by FedEx, but gone. So I figured someone stole it. I was like, oh man. So I took that. I called up Williams-Sonoma. I said, "Hey, somebody stole my package." And they're like, "All right, we'll send you a new one." Then yesterday, I'm at the shop, and they're like, some guy comes by, and he's like, "Hey, I live 2 streets over, and these FedEx guys delivered this box to me, and it's yours." I was like, "What? Oh man, crazy, crazy." So I finally got the sheeter, which is great because it would have been nice to do it for Thanksgiving, but I figured maybe I wasn't going to have it because it wasn't being, it had been stolen. So anyway, push come to shove, and I ran over to the local orchard, bought some pink lady apples, and I got my sheeter. So tomorrow I had to call Williams and say, "Hey man, we got to cancel that order. I'll bring the box back. I'll bring when that arrives. I'll bring it down to the store and return it." But you take the sheeter and you sheet the apples, and then you roll it, and you put it in a mold and caramelize it, and then we do sugared crust, bake that off, and then unmold it. It's really quite nice. I mean, still trying to figure out, like, if I don't know if you saw that on Instagram or whatever, but if you saw that there, then it's a little bit, got to work on the technique. There's a little bit of it. If maybe I'm not cooking too long. Well, there's 2 of them. There's one that I didn't cook long enough, and there's one that we cooked maybe slightly too much. And then also I think that it's better to trim the apple more so that the ribbon, when you sheet the apple, is much more uniform in size. Because one of them was really like dramatic. Even though I tried to buy apples of the same size and dimension, it was still a bit wacky. So that's what we did. And so now, whatever, that's good. It was great. It was great. It turned out great. My niece made it. She did all the work. I just kind of told her, do this, do that, do this, and try this, and let's try that. And turned out well. All right, so let's get right to it. Happy Thanksgiving. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. We are here. We're going to brew some coffee and then smoke some cigars and then do some drinking because, well, Thanksgiving might as well. And so this week we're going a little bit off book. Like typically every week we have a planned cigar that we're going to be smoking. This time, like we talked about the last couple weeks, we're just going to go and I'm just going to dig in the humidor and look for something really interesting. So for that, I found this. I don't know, can you see that? There we go. There it is. A 1995 La Gloria Cubana Medaille d'Or #2. This is like a torpedo. This is the true torpedo from 1995. I mean, this is really one of my favorite cigars back then. Like I bought a box of it in 1995. There's 3 more after this one. And I don't know, you can't really see it. It looks yellow on screen because it is yellow. The cellophane is yellow. There's actually some like crystalline, sparkly stuff when you look at it. So there's some crystallization. But we'll get more into that as we get to. So the first thing I want to do is want to make coffee. And today's coffee, I'm going off book again, right? So I bought this from my friend Dismas Smith in Seattle. He's got this new company called This Coffee Life. And he's making, roasting coffee, nice quality stuff. And so this is the Rwanda Musasa. And the Musasa is, it's a nice coffee. It's what is it? It's local Bourbon varieties, triple wash, dried on raised beds, good stuff. And it says we're going to have notes of black tea, citrus, vanilla, and caramel. So we're going to try that. We'll get to that right away so that we can start to smoke because otherwise, what are we doing here? So how was your days? Tell me about, drop in the comments. Let me know how your guys' days was. What'd you guys eat? What'd you prepare? Did you do turkey or did you do something else? So put that down there. All right, so we got our Porlex grinder. So I put some in there. I'm a little bit tired, and so we're just going to go a little bit more casual than normal. Right? All right, just get some of this, grind it up. going. Just joining us. Good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. We're growing up some Rwanda Musasa from Rwanda in Africa. Smells pretty good. Sadai says we had banh mi from New Long and banh pate so. Oh, nice, dude, nice. Yeah, I saw you were down. I saw your posting from you were down at Eating Center today, right? I was down there a couple weeks ago and ended up going to that Hong Kong Pearl restaurant and having dim sum. I was there on a Saturday. Good stuff. I do like that place. Come on. Ooh, you're a little bit tired of this. Oh, that was yesterday. Ah, nice. Ooh. And then you'd bike 38 miles. Good Lord, dude. On the road? Well, obviously on the road. Do you have like a road bike, that kind of thing? Because I've been doing a little bit of biking, but mostly on trails. I'm honestly just scared to ride on the road because I think people are just nuts. And at this point in life, I'd rather not get run over by a car. All right, so now we're going to, now that the coffee's ground, we're going to brew it in our Chemex. So we're just going to take the Chemex filter. There we go. Put that in. All right. Excellent. So the Portlex holds less than what I would normally brew. So normally I'd make like 12 ounces worth of coffee, which is 24 grams. I think this holds about 18, so we're gonna do a little bit short. So we got our hot water here. I'm gonna start to brew. Let's see how long it takes. On a mountain bike, Silgo Creek Trail to North Branch down to Anacostia Park. Nice, dude. Nice. How long does that take you to ride? That seems like a good ride. So we're using the Chemex with a Chemex filter, the bleach filters. I don't know if you saw the video that I did about a month or two ago with the Ultimate Coffee Filter Showdown. If you notice that I didn't rinse it, I no longer rinse the bleach filters because there's really no advantage to it because there's just no off flavors that I've detected. You know, if you look up on the channel, you'll see there's this big video about it. We did all these filters, and the only ones that had a off flavor was the natural ones. You know, it just occurred to me that we have this theory in coffee about coffee should be brewed in 4 minutes. And I was just thinking just now, it's like, I'm looking at the time, we've got like a minute and 45 has passed, right? So, yeah. And it makes me wonder, there's always this theory about balancing the time with the roast, the grind, because the grind is what provides a lot of the resistance, right? And so if you get the right amount of resistance, then your volume of water should pass within 4 minutes. But I wonder, like, if we were just to take any grind setting and then dump water in it and let it run for 4 minutes, would the extraction yield be the same? Regardless of, you know, just without much thought, Maybe something to try in the future. If I can figure out exactly what I'm thinking about. Oh, almost 4 hours to ride, do the ride. Oh, that's good. That's solid. That's solid. Yeah, exactly. The cardboard, it's really just a nasty, that cardboard paper flavor. It's not very enjoyable at all. And what I mean by that theory that I was thinking about with the extraction, so like we're running up in 3 minutes, right? So I should have the right amount of coffee to begin with, but if I was just to let it run and stop just pull it out at 4 minutes, and do that with different grind settings and different amounts, but every time was the only thing that was consistent was the 4 minutes. I wonder if it would yield similar results. Yeah, these are the things that I think about when I'm sitting around. All right, so we're reaching about 4 minutes, so we're going to stop that. Going to let it finish out. You know, I get some, smelling the top here, I get aromas of like black currant. Yeah, I mean, so Dai's saying that isn't in the filter, isn't the filter going to provide the resistance? Suspect will also be results will be the same. Well, you know, yes, there certainly is some resistance from the filter, but it's not really a lot of resistance. Or at least it shouldn't be. Again, it's probably something to try to testing. Could be a video. I don't know. Could be a video. I just feel tired today, man. Just tired. You know, like it's been a long day. And plus, I haven't slept very well this week. Like I've got these crazy, like, dreams happening. All right, so we've got our coffee here. It's pretty small. And then we're going to get our cup. Our little fancy cup here. Keep that there. All right, now we got the Rwanda Musasa. That's a pretty heavy extraction. I think it's grinding pretty fine for the brew. Which actually makes me wonder, what if I cut it a little bit? Like the extraction is pretty heavy. It's pretty much on the bitter side, like it needs more water. So we're gonna add a little bit. Yeah, that helps it a bit. All right, so Dai say Mama Son's China. No, this is not. This is actually China for the Cafe Luspro where we shoot this at. Yeah, it's very specific. The China we're looking for is very specific for what we're doing here, and you know, looking for a lot of things as far as the shape of the cup, as well as the way the rim bends and interacts with your lips to place the coffee on your palate. I mean, there's really an interesting, not science, but there's really an interesting experience with it. And, you know, that's actually going to become an upcoming video, maybe in a month or two, where we're going to be looking at the different shapes of cups as well as thickness of cups and how, you know, there's my theory is that there's going to be kind of a trade-off, you know, is some mugs are thick and the idea is to have thermal retention. But the way that the rims are I think can diminish the taste experience. Whereas something like this can enhance that taste experience. It's very much like the Riedel, like Riedel makes water glasses, they make, alcohol snifters, as well as very specific wine glass shapes that are designed to enhance the different varietals of wine. So I think that works with coffee as well. And so that's been an ongoing exploration. Really, for me, it's relatively new. But a friend of mine who runs Cafe de Bola in Salt Lake City, he's been experimenting with it for a long time, for several, quite a number of years. And then, of course, a lot of these guys some of the guys that I follow in Japan that run Kisatens, they have that kind of approach as well. One of the big guys that's really into that is, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that owns Chate Hato in Shibuya. He's really a big proponent of the cup size and cup shape. And I think like Ichiro Sekiguchi from my favorite place, Cafe de l'Ombre, I think my understanding is that he has some of that, but it's not as intense as say, the guy that runs Chate Hato. Not bad. Very nice. So I'm getting a lot of blackcurrant, some of the black tea. I'm not really getting much citrus notes, but definitely some caramel. So we're going to move into the cigar time. All right, so let's go look at our cigar. This is the 1995 Medaille d'Or La Gloria Cubana. This is truly a classic cigar. It's really 25 years old now, and it is just a wonderful, wonderful. Well, I remember being wonderful. I haven't actually smoked one of these. I'm kind of like very reticent to smoke from this box because including this one, there's only 4 out of 25. All right, so the band is coming off, as you can see. It just kind of slides off. So Cyril will be happy with the whole unbandit movement. It's the bands off, dance off. And as you can see here, the cello is really, really brown, yellow. I mean, there's really been, it's got a spiciness to it from the cedar. It came in an all cedar box. That's interesting. Okay. So let's look at it. The wrapper itself has a really light Colorado color to it. It looks darker here in the screen at the studio, but it's actually, in my opinion, I think it's on the lighter side of the Colorado color. A little bit veiny. I don't know if you can see. Oh yeah, you can kind of see. So as I rotate it, you can kind of see the speckles, right? That kind of gold speckling that's happening, right? Look at that. I'm guessing that's some kind of mineral that's in the tobacco that's been imparted from the ground, wherever it came from. I don't really know what the deal is, and there's really not much information about this cigar anymore. I mean, this is a cigar that's no longer in production. Anything that they're making today is just a facsimile of this, I think. I mean, this was made at the original El Credito factory that Ernesto Perez Carrillo ran, and this is way before the boom happened. This is before they sold the company, and way before major changes, So this is how La Gloria used to make cigars, and this is how La Gloria really built their name on it. But it's nice. It's still kind of silky. We have maintained nice conditions in the humidor fort for the last 25 years. Let's see, we got a nice foot. Can we see the foot? I guess we're a little bit, need more color. It's a little bit hard to see the foot. The cap here is still in good condition. Oh yeah, nice. All right, so we're gonna cut this. I'm gonna use the MTX cutter from Cigars. Just gonna cut a little bit of the cap. Just about that much. let's give it a cold draw. There's like, oh, interesting. There's this light orange, like when you take cloves and you stud it into an orange. That's kind of the light, a light flavor of clove oranges. That's fascinating. Really, oh, really on the tongue, it's got that really nice, like dried, yeah, really like the dried clove-studded oranges. That's interesting. All right, and that's pretty much it. It's a bit on the one-note side. Let's light up here. So if you're having a cigar, what are you guys smoking tonight? Let me know. Drop it in the comments. Love to know what you're smoking and what you're drinking. There we go. Light that up. A little bit more. Another cigar. He's a little bit right at the edge. Inting, how are you, man? Welcome back. How's things in Jersey? Happy Thanksgiving to you. So guys asking where the match is from. They're from Paul Glamirian, PG Cigars. He's got a place down in McLean called the PG Boutique. And he sells great cigars. Paul Glamirian makes one of my absolute favorite cigars, which is the PG Bellicoso Maduro. And I think that's a fantastic, nice light spice, very complex, wonderful cigar. I've been smoking that one since like 2000. It's right there in McLean, not right behind. So if you know McLean, where the Starbucks is located, it's kind of right behind the Starbucks, next to the Old Dominion Bank. All right, so it's starting off nice. It's got good draw. It's got a nice amount of smoke, not like some cigars that have a real copious smoke. This has got the amount of smoke that you had back in the 90s, so it's a little bit more reserved. It's not one of those cigars that are real punchy and like exploding with like flavor right away. It's like a refined kind of smoke and beginning. Wow, in some ways, and I'm hesitant to say this, but in some ways it's Cuban-esque. It's the way that it starts off with a really light hint of saltiness. Kind of reminds me of a really, really nice Monte Cristo No. 2 Habano. Like if you find a really, really excellent example of a Monte Cristo No. 2, it's kind of starting off like that. And I mean, the construction is beautiful. Construction is really, really well done. Let me see if I get a better color here. Yeah, Inting, like you just came on, I know, and so this one is the 1995 La Gloria Cubana Medaille d'Or No. 2, and I'm not sure if even they make that size anymore from LGC. But to be honest with you, this is a cigar, a La Gloria cigar that's from a whole nother era than what they're doing today. I mean, this is when Ernesto Carrillo made this cigar. He still had the small El Credito factory in Miami. This is prior to the boom in 1997, when they started making cigars like at scale and like just without really much control over quality. And this is before he sold out to, I don't know who bought them. If Tony's listening, then he'll know who sold them out to. But this is really a cigar from what I would consider to be the true glory days of Ernesto Carrillo. Yeah, Ty says never before consumer cell phones. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I think maybe before it got really widespread, but we had cell phones back in 1995. I had the back then. I think I had the Nokia 100, and I thought that was really, really tremendous because I had the Motorola, the big Motorola one with the antenna, the white one, and I got the 100 Nokia, and I was like, whoa! And it was big enough that I could actually stick it in the back pocket of my jeans, right? And it was really tight in the back pocket, but it would fit. And I was like, man, this is awesome. It's so small. Senor Fontana, good to see you, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Ooh, let's see. So heading to the DR in a few days. Do I have a recommendation for you to savor and smoke? Something I can only get outside the States. I mean, I'm not sure what's down in the DR. I mean, the DR is pretty big, so what part of it depends what part of the DR. Let's see if there's any La Casa del Habanos. Oh, good Lord, this thing. Let's see where they are. I'm trying to look it up right now to see if there are. Of course, they don't really list them. That's good. That's good. All right, so let's see. Cabrete, Las Tereñas, and the Punta Cana. Okay. Oh, good Lord. Come on. LCDH, Punta Cana. The hard part for me is that I've actually never been to the DR, so I don't really know from firsthand experience. Okay, so I'm not sure. Everything that I see on Google search is pretty old. Like 2016 it seems to be the most recent. Do be aware that when you go to the resorts and people are trying to sell you Cubans, they're probably going to be fake. But one of the things that might be interesting if you can reach out to them is there are a few factories in the Dominican. I'm not really sure where they are, but I mean, Arturo Fuente's there, but they're notoriously difficult to letting anyone visit them. Maybe that's the truth also for Davidoff, and then, but there is Abe Flores has a place there. Maybe you can reach out to Abe and say, hey, Abe, I'm going to be in town. Drop him a note. They might be open to a tour. But things outside the United States, of course, like, Cubans are the big things. So if there happens to be like a La Casa del Habano, that is the official Cuba tobacco retailer, they're going to be the ones that will have all of the authentic Cubans. And a lot of times they're going to have what's called country exclusives. And I can only imagine they would have one for the Dominican if there is a LCDH there. But they'll have, those kind of country exclusives. And those are going to be the ones that are really interesting. And also, if you happen to find a place there is a cigar that I had a year ago when I was at the new La Casa del Habano in Frankfurt. It's the Trinidad Media Luna. And I had that, and I thought that was an excellent smoke. So look for that, the Trinidad Media Luna. And then a lot of people like the Bejiques from Cohiba. I've kind of had the hit and miss. Like when I've had them hit, stellar. But a lot of them miss. And the problem is, they're like the most expensive of all the Cohibas. So when you get a miss, you're like pretty kind of irritated with it. And I don't really want to like risk it. So what are you smoking there, David? Tell me. And how about you, Inting? What are you smoking up there in Jersey? And what did you guys have for Thanksgiving? Turkey, ribs? I've seen people on my feed having ribs and like lamb and all kinds of other stuff. Because I guess in COVID times they think that they should have something else because the world is upside down. I don't know. Yeah, welcome if you're joining us tonight. Thanks for coming in. It's happy Thanksgiving. So how was your Thanksgiving? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what you're drinking. I'm drinking the Rwanda Musasa from This Coffee Life. My friend Dismas in Seattle has started a new company, and so I thought I'd drink this today. Brewed it up in the Chemex and have it now. And I'm smoking a vintage 1995 Gloria Cubana Medaille d'Or No. 2 Torpedo. And it's not like the cigars of today. Like today's cigars are really like punchy, powerhouse kind of cigars. Like if you smoke Roma Craft or Tatuaje, these are like cigars that are really trying to give you a lot of spice, a lot of flavor, a lot of punch. This is not that. This is very old school. This is like the reserved gentleman. Well-aged, well-refined, just kicking back and like, this really is from another era of cigars. And what I found is that there are times when cigars will go through periods of fallowness, right? So there's times when it's great, and then as you keep it and age it, it does get to go to this low period. And I've had some of the cigars that I've had for years in that low period, and I thought, oh man, I totally screwed them, and they're totally done. And then I would just leave them alone for a year or two and then come back to them, and they actually kind of came back. So there is peaks and valleys as they're aging. So George had a traditional Thanksgiving, turkey and all excellent, and is now smoking the Caldwell Eastern Standard and some water. Nice. Oh, water. No bourbon tonight? What happened? Just too much eating? I get it. Too much eating. I don't feel too bad. It's 8:30 now, and I was temperate in what I was eating today, even though we had a hell of a spread. I was temperate. I didn't eat too much, and I was pretty full. Like I've only had one meal today, but it's 8:30, and I'm not bloated. I don't feel bloated. Oh, too much bourbon last night. Gotcha. So Dad's asking, when you sip with this, is the pinky finger? Yes, absolutely, like this. But really, I like it when it's curved a little bit more. See, I think the straight, when you have too straight, there's just no finesse to that, right? There's just no culture. Culture comes when your pinky forms a C. So David, so you're a big Arturo Fuente fan. Oh, nice. Gran Reserva Sun grown with Johnny Black, nice, crushed ice, Latinos, excelente, excelente. Well, if you are a big Fuente fan, then I don't know what part of the DR Fuente is, but if you get a car and you're driving around, why not swing by there and try to and tell me I'm a big fan? Can I stop in? You never know. I'm not saying that that can happen there, but I've had times when I've gone to places and I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm basically an idiot, but I'm kind of a fan of your stuff. I just wanted to see if I could see anything, and they were like, yeah, come on in, have a look. I remember one of the times that I remember I was in Northern California and I went to Napa, and I was really curious about the French Laundry. This is 2005 or something like that, and I drive over to the French Laundry, and the French Laundry has this interior garden area, this courtyard, and you can just walk in. It's still outside, and the kitchen windows are right there. So I'm literally standing in this garden space, looking into the windows, trying to peer into the kitchen, like some weirdo. And after a moment, this guy comes out in his nice suit. He's like, hey, it wasn't one of those things can I help you? It was one of these things. He came out and was like, hey, would you like a tour? And I was like, what? A tour? Well, all right. And this guy, who's the maitre d', he takes me on this grand tour of the entire facility. I mean, he shows me everything. The kitchen, the walkways. He shows me all the dining rooms, the upstairs dining room, everything. I'm just like, wow, dude, this is crazy. And then he's finally and so why I'm saying this, because it's you may have, you never know what's going to happen, because suddenly at the very end of my tour, he's like, well, is it just you? And I was like, yeah, it's just me. And he's like, well, if you're interested, we could seat you tonight at 5:30 at our first seating. And this is a restaurant that people wait months to get in, years to get into. It's super, even in 2005, it was super difficult to get a reservation. Months, you wait months to get, and you phone. It only opens up 3 months in advance, and you have to phone and try to get the space. And here I'm standing there, and he's like, well, if you'd like to eat, we'd love to have you. And I said, wow, man, well, how long would it take? And he's like, about 3 hours, which means it ends at 8:30. The biggest problem was that my flight out of San Francisco, which is a 2.5 hour drive away, is at 9:30 back home. And I was like, oh man, I really had a conundrum that really, and I really had to be back. It's not one of those things where I could just push off a day, and I was actually had stuff that needed to have meetings or whatever it was. There was something critical that I had to be back for. And I was like, oh, I said, I told him, I'm afraid I have to decline. I was like, I was heartbroken. So what I mean by that is that, if you're there in the DR, driving around, you love Fuente, why not stop by, see if they'll let you in. Worst comes to worst, they'll treat you like Padron does and just kind of blow you off, and the security guard won't even talk to you. So yeah, that could be it. So Inting's having Padron 64 after joining Crispy Pata. Excellent. So do you like Inting with the Crispy Pata? And for those of you guys who don't know Crispy Pata, so Crispy Pata is basically the foot of the pig that has been braised for a very long time, so that it basically is now very tender. It's the knuckle of the pig, right? And then once that's reached that point of tenderness, it's then deep fried so that it gets crispy, and then the outside skin becomes really blisteringly crisp, and it's really just a super delicacy of Filipino eating. So that's what Crispy Pata is. So Inting, when you say Crispy Pata, do you eat it plain, or do you use some kind of, toyo or something like that? That's what I'm interested. And so Dai says, show up to the Maui Potato Factory chip and ask for. And did they let you in? Because I love Maui potato chips. And if you guys aren't familiar with Dai's talking about, there's a place in Maui called the Maui Potato Chip, and it's called Kitchen Cooked, and it's kettle cooked fries. And you've seen, kettle cooked potato chips, and you've seen all kinds of kettle cooked potato chips. But let me tell you, any kettle cooked potato chip that you've had that wasn't from Maui sucks. I mean, absolutely sucks. And the Maui ones come in this like, kind of like a clear cellophane bag with their red and yellow logo, which is kind of this round circle. It's a little bit on the ugly side, but it's super simple. And it's just, that's it, right? And when you tear open the bag, it's like, it tears like a lot. But it is the very best kettle cooked potato chip ever, anywhere on the planet. Like I think every few months, I think I should be trying to call them and like ask them to ship it to me. I mean, they're nice and thickly cut, and they're really kind of like a little bit oily. But man, the crunch and the crisp and the flavor, it's the best. Like you see these other ones that are, especially the commercial ones, and there's even one called Maui, like kettle chips, right? The ones that you buy, like you can buy them here. They suck. They absolutely suck. Bullshit, if you ask me. If you get the chance, go to Maui, kitchen cooked, get those potato chips. You will thank me. I know you'll thank me. You're going to call me and be like, hey, thank you. That'd be amazing. All right, so then, Dismas. Dismas, nice to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome. This is your coffee. Yeah, everyone. So you see Dismas in the comments here. This is his coffee. We were sharing a hotel. I almost went with you. I've always regretted that. Wait a minute. Where were we? What were we doing? I think I'm missing. I think I'm missing part of that. Yeah, going to Blue Bottle. Yeah, that's a mistake. I wrote on my blog years ago, in 2008 or 2009, that I made the journey up to I was in Manhattan, and I made the journey to Brooklyn, which, if you know me, I'm really a Manhattan guy, right? I don't really like to go to Brooklyn. I'm one of those guys that think that, like, okay, New York is only Manhattan, and Brooklyn, I don't know what's going on over there, right? What are they doing? I mean, I do go there now because there's a conference I go to every year, but I don't really like to go there. So in 2008, I went to go check out this Blue Bottle location. So I trucked all the way out to Brooklyn. I think it was Williamsburg or whatever it was. It was far. I was like, what am I doing there? I was like, God, this is ridiculous. And I wrote on my blog. If you can still look it up because the blog's still live, even though I don't write to it anymore. But I went to this place, and I have to say that it was the absolute worst. And I think I said this on the podcast that I was doing, the Portafilter.net podcast, that it was the absolute worst shot espresso that I had that year. Now, the single origin pour over that I had was really, really good, but that espresso shot was just the worst. The worst. But, whatever. And so Dave says, the French Laundry, what a dream to be guest, man. It was amazing. It was amazing. I've gone there a few times just to visit, because I've been a real fan of Thomas Keller's over the years. And, I ended up going to his restaurant per se. I was able to get a dinner there. It's been a long time. It's like 2007. And it's still today the very best restaurant meal I've ever had anywhere. I mean, because not only was the service and the food exceptional, but it was also very, and I'll be honest, it could be the fact that I'm a fanboy. I can't discredit that. I can't separate that part of it. But to me, it was still very much a guttural soul experience. Like, it was to the point where I'm sitting there having this meal, and it's one of those places where it's really difficult to get a seat. I'm there with two friends, and it's easily costing us $500 each, which is a lot of money. And you have to dress up. Can't wear jeans, you gotta wear a jacket. And I'm sitting there in the middle of the meal thinking to myself, if I had $500, if I could get another reservation, and if I could afford to spend another night in New York, and if they would give me another table, I would totally eat here the next night and be completely happy for it. So it's well worth, I think, well worth it. So you are renting a car in Santo Domingo and we're taking a road trip. Oh, God, that's the way to do it. You know, so many people that I know will like go to places and they just, especially a place like the Dominican, they'll go to some kind of like all-inclusive. And so they'll fly there, get the whatever resort transport, go to the all-inclusive, take the resort transport back to the airport and fly home. And it's like, you went to another country, but you didn't do anything. You hung out with the same people you hung out with when you're back at home. Why would you want to do that? Actually, it's kind of funny because friends of mine last night were hanging out and they were like, yeah, we can go to like an all-inclusive. I was like, what, are you kidding me? I was like, you guys could plan an all-inclusive trip. That's fine. I will not be part of that trip. Yeah, since you're driving there, yeah, definitely Google the Arturo Fronte factory. And, you know, do the Abe Flores thing too, because Abe makes beautiful cigars. I really like them as well. Um, the worst they could do is tell you no. You know, like that's what they did to us at the Padron factory. Oh, see, the Colombiana? Wonderful. That's what you do. Yeah, do that. And happy Thanksgiving to you, Dismas. Good to see you, man. I'm enjoying your coffee. I brewed it up in I ground it up in the Porlex, a little bit fine, I think, and then brewed it up in a Chemex. So I think it's a little bit on the heavier extraction. I did cut it down a little bit. I got more black currant notes, some like darker caramel, but it's been nice. It's been nice. Oh, so that was the Barista Guild. Yes, yes. Was that when we were in San Francisco? Is that right? We were staying down at the Hotel Monaco, the Kimpton Hotel. Man, that was a good like 12, 13 years ago. Yeah, Dismas and I were like one of the original people that really started and ran the what's called the Barista Guild of America. And so if you're in the coffee business, the Barista Guild has been this organization that has been pushing a lot of the training for baristas around the world, you know. And it's interesting, back then when we were just starting it out, it was really a very much a mother may I kind of situation where, you know, the powers at the Specialty Coffee Association of America were very much like hesitant. But I think the rest of us could see the potential, you know, like you're talking about an organization that's supposed to represent baristas, which in specialty coffee, that's the majority of people that are working in specialty coffee are the frontline baristas. And if you can mobilize them into members, you're talking thousands of potential members paying what, $50 a year. I mean, it's something that I was, even the part of me was also art was advocating that the Barista Guild shouldn't be part of the Specialty Coffee Association. We should be our own separate organization because, first of all, I'm much more of an entrepreneurial type, so I don't like the mother may I kind of situation where we have to ask for permission. We should just be doing what we need to do. But it's, you know, we moved on and times kind of progressed and the organization has gone on and it has become one of the biggest, well, essentially the biggest revenue maker for one of the biggest revenue makers for the Specialty Coffee Association. Yeah, like this one said, they just thought we were kids. I was 30 some years old. I had just come from the motion picture industry. And I was like, you know what? Then like, there's all these like, in the coffee business, there's all these people that are like coffee celebrities. And I was like, and I think one of the problems that I always kind of had with them was that I came from a world where I actually worked with real celebrities, like worldwide celebrities that people would run down the street screaming for. And, you know, to meet coffee industry celebrities was like, well, unimpressive. It was just unimpressive. It was like, whoa, okay, you're known in coffee. That's cool. But I'm not as impressed as some other people that I've seen. And so it's always been kind of a strange thing for me. Yeah, Dismas, totally. It's totally gotten crazy how big it is. It's like, but it's nice. It's nice to have been there at the beginning, you know. to have laid the groundwork. Oh, we just lost the ash. On my beautiful table here. Oh well. So, Inting, how's that Padron 64 working out for you? I really like those. Those are really, really, those Padron guys, they make fantastic cigars that are super consistent. But I tell you, one of the best ones I ever had, I was in Nicaragua, and I was headed to Salvador. Actually, I think I was coming to meet up with Dismas and some other friends of ours that were there to buy more coffee in El Salvador. I was actually in Nicaragua buying coffee. And at the airport in Managua, they've got this, at the exit area, they've got this Padron booth that's selling cigars. And I bought this, I know I was heading to Salvador, and Salvador is not really cigar. Like, Central America is hard to find cigars. Like, if you go to San Salvador, there's one place at the Sheraton Hotel that sells cigars. But, it's when you're in Santa Ana and you're going out to the coffee country, you're not really going to go into San Salvador and try to buy cigars. You're going to head straight to the farms, and I'm with a whole group, so nobody wants to be like, "Hey man, do you mind if we make an hour side trip?" No. So at Managua, I picked up this 3-pack of Padron 3000s, and when I finally got to Salvador and I was smoking them, man, I got to say that they were absolutely the very best Padrons I've ever had. In the fact that the flavor was so beautiful and balanced, but more importantly, and I'm guessing because it was from Padron, it was the hydration of the leaf to the tobacco, the way that the condition of the cigar was just absolutely stellar. The very best. It was the very best condition I've ever had for a Padron. And I've had some really great Padrons, but it was just super beautiful, just perfectly humidified. Perfectly. I was I was so enjoying them when I was in Salvador. And that's the thing. So especially for David, for you, like when you're heading off to the DR, and I don't know if the DR is really like this, but if it's similar to Central America, it is difficult to find like nice quality cigars. Managua, Nicaragua. There's one place in Managua on the main one of the main highways that is a cigar place, and that's kind of the only cigar shop in, I think, the entire country. And I don't think I've ever found cigars in Honduras, whether I was in San Pedro or in Tegucigalpa. Guatemala, I've not been to Guatemala yet, so not really. I've only been to the airport. And Costa Rica, I can't recall. Dismas, did you ever notice if I went and bought cigars in Costa Rica? I don't think I did, because I think I brought them with me. But it's interesting, like in a lot of these places where in Central America, or it's a little bit difficult to find cigars. So if you're looking for cigars, it's probably better to bring. So David, when you go to DR, I'd suggest bringing some with you just in case. That way you'll have some reserve for you, because sometimes you'll get to places and they may have some cigars. Like I remember, a great place example of this is Kampala in Uganda. And I go there. I typically go to Uganda once a year, and I always bring cigars to Uganda because there's one place that I found last trip that was a dealer. So I made the trek across the city to check it out, and they had a humidor, and they had maybe they had 6 Cubans in there. I mean a literal 6 sticks, and it was in poor shape, just cracked and dry. And it was like, oh my God, man, it's just So there is a lot of these countries you may go to, and I don't think the DR will be that bad, but bring some cigars. I think it's a good idea to bring cigars. Oh yeah, we went to the Hotel Havana. But were there cigars at the Hotel Havana? Did I buy cigars there? Hmm. So this cigar, it's just solid. It's not. It's just delivering nice flavor, consistent, medium body, refined, enjoyable tobacco flavor. And it's not one of these things where you're like, half wheeling it and you're coming up with this whole barnyard hay and kumquats and whatever. This is just nice aged tobacco smoking really well. And overall I'm hesitant to smoke cigars like this on the show because it's not even something we can get today. Like this is a 25-year-old cigar that was made in 1995, maybe even 1994, by a factory that if El Credito's still around, I'm sure the way they approach cigars is completely different today. The tobacco that's available today is very different. And so it's a completely different way of smoking cigars, but it's something that I wouldn't normally bring, but because it's a Thanksgiving show and it's just something off book, that thought we'd dig into something different, and it's still really, really nice. I mean, it's if you watch the show for a while, you know that I like one of my favorite cigars right now is the Roma Craft Revenge, and that's completely a different experience. That's got really light draw. It's got this like super punchy personality to it. Like it's kind of always in your face. It's got a lot of flavor. It's just gunning. A lot of spice, a lot of everything. This is completely like refined, like completely just beautifully refined. Oh, the 6,000 Maduro is always in your rotation and thing. I get it. Yeah, you got to pace yourself. For me right now, the last couple of years, I got to pace myself also with the Revenges because, man, I get a box of 10 or 12 and I power through them and it's like, God, what do I do now? Terrible. But yeah, those 6,000 Maduros, excellent. But I heard that there's, and I don't know if this is true, but I did hear that there's no difference between the regular line and the Maduro line. They just roll them all and then look at them later and decide, okay, this is darker and this is lighter. I don't know. I don't know if you've heard that, but that's kind of what I've heard, and I don't know if there's any truth to that. I did go to the factory in 2014, and I don't recall, and that was something that I hadn't even heard of then. That's only something I heard in the last year. So I wouldn't even have the wherewithal to have thought of looking for that kind of thing. This one says, "Oh, a cigar shop. Oh, yes, that's right. Cigar shop in the brothel. We almost got kicked out because the Celeste was, yeah. I remember that. That's right. That's right. So if you go to San Jose in Costa Rica, there's a place called the Hotel Havana. And the Hotel Havana is known for ladies that you can engage for interludes. And so Rusty's asking, do you catalog the cigars that you plan on aging? The simple answer is no. The aging thing just really kind of occurred. It wasn't really necessarily well thought out. Actually, it was very. If we're talking about aging cigars as a plan, it was really poorly thought out. So I've been smoking cigars since 1992 or so, and I really got into it by 1994. I was really, really into it. And I was buying boxes. And back then, like the cigars were like $1.20. I mean, it was cheap. Especially compared to now. It's like if you look at the prices of some of the boxes that I have at home, it's like, what in the world is that? How's that? Like, in 1997, when the boom was in full swing and everyone was out of cigars, and companies like La Gloria Cubana were producing cigars beyond their means without aging tobacco, that was just everything was, they were sending out product that was just way green and just, frankly, just crap. And I remember a buddy of mine had a cigar shop, and he was selling this bundle. He got a bundle of Wavels, the Robusto shaped La Gloria Cubana. And I still have this bundle. It's still unopened. Mainly because and I think probably because, I wanted to let it age because it was all green. And probably I didn't open it because I was so shocked at the price for a bundle. Now we're talking a bundle of 20 some cigars. And that bundle in 1997 cost $113. And I was like, this is astronomical. It's ridiculous. I'm going to buy it because who knows if we're going to have any more cigars. But today, you can't buy a box of cigars for $113. It's unheard of. From the other end of the spectrum. So I started buying boxes, right? If I had a cigar I liked, double Chateau Fuente, I'd buy it, right? Selection Privado number ones, buy those too. And then I put them in the humidor, and I think, okay, I'm gonna keep them. I'm gonna let them age, see if there's any change to them. When you start doing that, and but here's the thing: if you're going to buy a box of cigars and you want to age it, you're going to keep it. So let's say a box of double Chateau Fuentes. So a box double Chateau Fuente comes in 10s. So if you buy a box and you're like, okay, I'm going to see how it ages after a year. All right, so you wait a year and then you smoke one. The smart guy buys a box at that moment, right? A year later, he buys a box, he puts that with it. Then the next year, buys another box. So that way, as he's smoking, the box that he loves so much is constantly being updated, so that if you want to try this cigar, like these 10 cigars, and you want to smoke it, let's say you've decided it takes 2 years for it to age correctly. Well, now you're buying cigars yearly to help pace that. Well, I didn't do anything like that. I basically bought these cigars that I thought were interesting or just wanted to try, and I put them in the humidor, and I just never did anything with them. Sometimes I didn't even smoke them, right? Just they're sitting there. I'll smoke a few every once in a while, and they're just there. And so after a while, there's a progression of time that happens. So let's say you move 2 years forward or 5 years forward, and you smoke one, and let's say it just happens to be fantastic. You're like, well, this is amazing. I need more of these. Well, you're 5 years in. You're still 5 years away, right? Because you've got nothing in the pipeline. So, no, there's no cataloging. There's just no real thought. There's no real smarts behind the aging thing. It's just I have a bunch of cigars that are sitting around that are of now. And because they've been sitting in this humidor for so long, I mean, they're 20-some. Some of them are 20-some years old. But I did find this point where, like with the Fuente cigars, they're good. And you expect them to get better, right? Get better. And then and then you hope that they're really good. And then there was a point where I did smoke a double Chateau Fuente, and it was kind of like this. It kind of dropped. And I was like, oh gosh, I've got all these. Let's say I was 8 years in. I'm 8 years in. The cigar tastes like crap. It just tastes like rubbish. Musty nothingness. Now I'm screwed. Now, and that's the whole thing. Is I said, okay, now I'm 8 years in and I'm screwed. I've got all these. I got like 3 boxes. I got nothing to do with them, and they taste terrible. And I don't even want to smoke them. So luckily, I left those in there. A couple years later, smoked it again. Another cigar out of the box. It's alive. It's alive again. Oh, so I found that there is a point with cigars where they do become fallow, and then they come back. But I have no idea at what. Like, again, there's no science, there's no cataloging behind any of this, so I have no idea when that would happen, or even how to predict that. You just have to try it. You're just surprised at how So how I remember a lot of where these cigars are from is because if I have a box, I've typically taken the time to write on the bottom of the box what the price was, where I got it, what the date was. That's kind of how. So in this box, it says that I got it. I got it from the Rolling Road Tobacco Warehouse. No, I got it from Fader's Tobacconist, 1985. Yeah, that's how I know. That's how I know what. If it doesn't have it, then I don't know. So Rusty asking, how many cigars do you have in my humidor? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I have too many. I do know that. So, like, I've got. If you look at it, there's boxes, right? There's boxes, but the box, not all the boxes are full anymore. Like this box, it's still a box, but there's only 4 cigars in it. Actually, I put a couple other ones, so there's maybe like 7 or 8. So it takes a little bit more. It takes up a lot. That does taste good, but it takes up a lot more space than you'd think. I did a rough calculation last year or 2 years ago, where there's a point where you start to wonder. Okay, it's like if I have these cigars, if I smoke one a day, and which I don't. Lately, I've been smoking like once a week. But if I smoked once a day, how many days would I have to smoke before I consume them all? It might be a couple of years. Easily a couple of years. So 1 cigar a day. So if I have 600 cigars, 700 cigars, it's going to take 2 years. It could be dead in 2 years. So I need to start smoking. But the problem is that, you get these cigars that are like this, and they're like, oh, these are kind of precious. Maybe I shouldn't smoke them. And then you buy these other cigars like the Revenge, and you're like, this is just what I love to smoke now. So I'm smoking. It's like, well, I need to smoke those. But they're just not as like rich and flavorful and like experiential as these. Dismas, thanks for coming in. Happy Thanksgiving to you. So for me, that's the conundrum. It's like, oh, we've got these cigars. I see the future, right? The future is demise, right? That's the end result of all of this, of this whole crazy life is demise. Well, how do I enjoy all of that before the demise comes? That's really the conundrum. So what did you guys have tonight for Thanksgiving? Was there anything like super that you made that was super good? How did you if you did turkey, how did it turn out? I did the frying thing. Man, it was nice and juicy and perfect. And like, I decided that when we were carving it, I was like, okay, I'm going to carve out the breast. So I carved out the breast, right? The right breast. Man, we didn't touch anything else. There's a whole turkey. There's 3/4 of turkey left. Good Lord, man, it's ridiculous. But man, I've had a lot of turkeys that were dry and just rough to eat. You know what I'm talking about. We've all had it. It's just dry and like, man, no amount of gravy can help. But this one turned out great. And the frying thing, we did it just right. It's all juicy. It's just lovely. This is something where I've only experienced this like a few times, where I've had turkey and it was really properly done. And there's just so much, there's actually joy in eating this nicely seasoned, perfectly cooked and juicy turkey breast. Man, it's like, there's a beautiful unctuousness that's just there. So, how did you guys turn out with that? And I also made some gravy for it. So I do enjoy cooking. So I'll try to make it as much. We'll try to make everything, instead of buying the stuffing. I'm not going to buy stovetop. I'm not against stovetop. I have enjoyed many stovetop in my lifetime, but want to make it all from fresh, from scratch. And what I'm looking forward to for tomorrow is the stuffing. So I don't know. I had never thought about this. I don't even think I've heard about this until somebody just like last week was like, you know, you take the stuffing, you put it in your like waffle iron, and you make stuffing waffles. And I was like, oh my God, what? Put the stuffing in a waffle iron? So like all day long, I've been thinking, man, I can't wait till tomorrow because I'm going to bust out that waffle iron and start to make me stuffing waffles. So if you have leftover stuffing, give that a try. You know, stuffing waffles. And if you don't have a waffle iron, maybe make stuffing pancakes. You know, just pan fry it, get a little bit crispy. And you know, when you have like, oh man, I just had this like whiff of it's just beautifully aged tobacco just come across. It's just really enjoyable. But like I was going to say, when you have like really, really nice turkey, nicely cooked turkey, like you want to eat more. Like I'm thinking, okay, I need to make my own gobbler sandwiches. I need to make this. I need to make something, you know, because it's enjoyable. Like when you make it and when you mess it up and it's all dry, you just want to throw it away. You really don't want to eat it. You're like eating it because you know you spent all this money and time making it. And you're like, oh man. All right, so we're going to move on and get some, let's do some, we're going to do some beverage, A little ice. I'm going to get our Fever Tree tonic water. I guess I'm more of a Schweppes, but you know, I found these and everybody loves to rave about this. So, and then what I want is just the old school. I thought with the old school cigar, we'll go with the old school Bombay Sapphire. Now I know a lot of people are really into like new gins, but you know what? There's something beautiful about the classic, the Sapphire. So I dug this out of the basement. Of course, I couldn't find any limes, so unfortunately there's no lime. And the local Latino market was closed. But we're going to use some Fever Tree to, you know, make it a little bit fancy. Right, cheers. I think that's too much Fever Tree. It needs balance. It needs balance. There we go. There we go. Oh man, the bottle's getting kind of low. That's a problem. Georgia is a great gin. I think it's. I have to say, I'm a little bit of a charlatan when it comes to the Bombay. And that I really discovered. I was drinking gin and tonics before, like Tanqueray and whatever, but it wasn't until I was reading the Dick Marcinko novels from the Navy SEAL, about the Navy SEALs, that he was talking about Bombay Sapphires. I was like, oh, I got to try that. So Di says, the other week you were talking about razors and shaving. Just got an email from the Art of Shaving. They're offering 30% off the heated razor. Now, is that a double-edged safety razor, the heated? And is it battery powered? Is that how it works? That might be interesting. You know, I don't know if I said this last week, but last weekend I was down in Tyson's. Was it the weekend before? And I went down to this place called something Grooming at Tyson's Galleria. And I picked up a shaving cream from Truefit and Hill. And Truefit and Hill is this barber, men's, whatever barber kind of place from the United Kingdom, from London. It's one of those that are like appointment to the Prince of Wales, that kind of thing. And years ago in the '90s, Truefit and Hill opened up a barbershop on the Miracle Mile in Chicago, and I was so interested. So I flew to Chicago. It might have been just for that. And I flew to Chicago and I went to Truefit and Hill and I had a full haircut and shave because I wanted to have that shave experience. And so they make this. Of course, they make a line of product as well. And so they had their dark Indian lime shaving cream. And then my buddy Brian gifted me this shaving cream from a company called Hirsch. So I've had a couple extra shaving creams come up this past couple weeks, and I'm like, I'm trying out the Truefit and Hill. Really has a great lather, it's super thick. I might have said this in the past. I might have said this on the show a few weeks ago, where I've been using the Kreml cream, and I just don't get that super thick lather that I see on people's videos, where it's really, really thick. The way that when I'm using the brush with the Kreml, it's kind of like a thin lather. But the Truefit and Hill, man, it's really thick. Actually, it's to the point where it gets a little bit dry, so I have to make it. But it's been an interesting experience, and I did get my 5-pack of blades in, and I've been using the Wilkinson Sword blade. And then there's a 5-sample pack, the Wilkinson Sword. There's a feather. What else is in there? There's 5 different blades, and it's for you to try out. But the Wilkins Sword is the first one that I've used, and it's done pretty good. So it was pulling a little bit today yesterday when I was shaving. It was pulling slightly, so I think that individual blade is done. So I'm going to switch to another one. It's just a slow process, because you got to wait, every few days until you got to shave before you can reevaluate. I think I was pulling it yet last night when I was shaving. I was it felt a little bit of burn, so I'm I think I need to replace that blade already. So I only got maybe 2-3 shaves out of it. But the heated razor, that's interesting. I wonder what the advantage is by heating the razor. Yeah, so what is everyone doing? I know that the Ravens game got canceled. I heard that the Ravens game was postponed till Sunday because, because some of the Ravens players came down with came positive with COVID. Hopefully that throws off Roethlisberger's game. So now he'll be too rested for Sunday. Oh, it was Lamar that tested. Oh, man. I didn't hear that. Actually, the only reason I saw it is that one of my buddies in Hawaii, who's a big Steelers fan, he posted on his Instagram. I was I know these guys that live somewhere else and they're all Steelers fans. That kind of irritates me. It's you don't have any. You're all trying to be rabid, but you don't have any real connection to the place. That's my old Ravens fandom coming through. Oh, and those of you, so the another cancellation for football today was the annual Loyola High School Calvert Hall football game was canceled today as well because of the whole pandemic. A lot of my friends that went to Loyola are very upset. Me personally, I haven't been in a game in years, so ever since they took it away from the stadiums, we used to go to Memorial Stadium, and then I guess M&T for a while. But anywhere else is just not as Still waiting for Hawaii to get a team. I wonder if I'm thinking they'll probably give a team to like London before they give it to Hawaii. Plus, I wonder if Hawaii would be even a large enough market to support an NFL team. They really rake in a lot of money from a lot of. I guess they could, and also another thing with the problem with Hawaii is that okay, they are supposed to get they need to get a new stadium because Aloha Stadium is pretty old. That was interesting. When I was in college, I volunteered as a clerk at the Circuit Court of Honolulu. And one of the cases that my judge was in charge of, and it was a long-term, like 20-year case that constantly pending. And basically, it was the Aloha Stadium case. And basically, what it was is that the Aloha Stadium was built with steel girders, right? It's all exposed steel, everything. And whoever designed it came up with this thing it was supposed to be a thing. It was supposed to be it's a steel that would develop a patina that would then protect it. Right? Well, what does iron develop that coats it? That's called rust. And so this stadium, when they built it, had this steel that had this patina that was going to cover it and protect it, and that patina was rust. And so the whole stadium is rusted. But it just wasn't a patina. And, if it's rust after time will rust through the entire thing. So a rust patina just means that it's going to continue. And that's what happened. And so, the state had been trying to, battle in courts with the developer or whatever it was for years. And this was back in, 1992. I don't know if they ever resolved it, because I left the court for, not too long, a couple years later. But I just remember reading the dockets, and I was like, wait a minute, a patina on steel? What? That's called rust. What kind of craziness is that? Yeah, I leave it up to Hawaii, and then Honolulu, they decided since I was living in Hawaii, since I moved to Hawaii in '88, they had been pushing elevated rail. They wanted to put some kind of rail system to run from the far side of the island all the way into the city. And when you looked at the plans, you're like, what the hell is this? You're going to have rail. And the problem is the rail plans that I saw then in the late 80s was still okay, it comes from the far side of the island, which is good because people there need to commute. But it would be elevated trains once it got to the city. And Hawaii is a pretty place. You don't really want to have viaducts and elevated trains running around. New York City buried their elevated trains decades ago, right? 100 years ago. Chicago only has elevated trains in very few places now. But here these guys were, and they wanted to run these elevated rails, and they wanted to run it along the waterfront. So, you want to have a waterfront, and you've got this rail, this big old train bridge running along the ocean. You're like, what the hell? And further, it's running along the water, which is nowhere near, or which is not even, it's not convenient to where all the bus traffic is coming. The bus terminal, the bus, hub is 4 blocks away. And so you're just like, what in the world are these people thinking? And so when I lived there and I had a say, I was always against it, but I'm just one guy. But the Democrats, which run Hawaii, were always for it. Finally, they got it passed in the last 5 years or so, and they've started building it. And of course, cost overruns. It looks ugly. It's terrible. It's not going to go anywhere to serve anyone. So it's like, what? just another boondoggle by, by a city government. But this cigar smoking really smoothly, really, really lovely. It's got a slight bite on the tongue right about now. But it's still enjoyable. So have you guys been watching The Mandalorian? Because I've been hearing some people have some controversy over The Mandalorian. I'm just wondering what you guys might think about it. And just to give a little background on it, there's a scene where the Baby Yoda eats something, and man, people are just all angry about that. And for me, if you've seen it, then drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd be interested in what you think. But to me, the eating scene was no big deal. It's like we as a people do it all the time. So why is that a problem if this little baby does it? Is it because you know the source now? You feel some kinship to the source, so suddenly it's like it's wrong? Definitely with this cigar, now that we're getting to this point, it's definitely become a little bit sharper, a little bit hotter. It's one of those points where it's getting a little bit sharper, so makes me think maybe I should slow down. Maybe I'm going a little bit fast. A baby that doesn't know better, but here's the other side of that, I think, Di. It's like, all right, when we say the baby doesn't know better, we're projecting our own thoughts about infancy on this Baby Yoda. Now, of course, what I just said a moment ago, that we do the same thing, I am projecting our own experience on that as well. Okay, I do realize that. But this baby, this Yoda baby, they said last season that the baby, these species are like infants for 50 years. So this kid is 50 years old. This kid is my age. I mean, what a burden that must be. Can you imagine, like, you have an infant that's 50 years. You guys have had kids. You guys know how long the first 3 years are, and it probably feels like 10 years, maybe more. And but the fact that this little Baby Yoda has been around 50 years, I mean, he had to have learned something more advanced than just what our infants would know, right? I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you tell me craziness or not? Yeah, the character doesn't act. Like, I agree with you on that. The character doesn't act, but 50 years of interacting within the galactic empire, and this little tiny baby still doesn't have any cognitive abilities or hasn't developed cognitive abilities. That seems, I mean, if you're up to date on the Mandalorian, like if you're up to date, I mean, the Mandalorian is talking to him, and the kid understands, even though the kid is not verbalizing anything or speaking a language like Yoda does. He still seems to be like, especially when he's being directed, like, connect this, disconnect that. The kid knows. So, I mean, I think we look at it and the character doesn't really act like that, but I think the character's quite cognizant of what's happening. See, maybe. The modern lone wolf and cub. Well, yeah, that's true. I can see that. The other show I've been watching is Star Trek Discovery. That's good. That actually comes out today, so I'm looking forward to watching it tomorrow. I'm not sure where they're going right now, but we'll see. I have to say, as much as I like Sapphire Tonic, it really does need a lime. It's much better with the lime. It's good, but the lime makes it sublime. Have you seen the UK original version of Utopia? No, I've not seen that yet. How is it? Is it good? Is that available on like Netflix or something, or is that a downloaded kind of thing? One of those Netflix shows that my friends have been asking me about recently, they've been talking a lot about, is the Cobra Kai. And the questions are, have you seen Cobra Kai? Did you see Cobra Kai? Did you see Cobra Kai? I'm like, and I watched Cobra Kai when it came out on YouTube Red. So I've seen it like almost 2 years ago. So it's kind of like, everyone's like, have you been watching Cobra Kai? It's awesome. It's Cobra Kai. Is this? And I don't say this because I'm cognizant of the fact that people are watching now on Netflix and they're just discovering. But all I can think in my mind is like, man, where have you been for the last 2 years? It's been out for 2 years, for God's sake. Like I've been waiting for 18 months for the third season. But I did see this blurb just the other day on how supposedly the season 2 of Cobra Kai has set it up so that maybe Daniel LaRusso can have a rekindling of his relationship with Tamlin Tomida's character, the Miyagi's potential girlfriend's niece, the one that was his girlfriend in Karate Kid 3, to make a return. So that would be interesting, like if Johnny Lawrence was to get together back with Allie Mills, and then LaRusso was to leave his wife, or his wife leaves him and he gets together with his old Japanese girlfriend, that would be kind of interesting. And then what happens? Maybe that now that Kreese is back and has kicked Lawrence out of the Cobra Kai, will Johnny Lawrence now team up with LaRusso? These are heady topics to be considering for the coming 2021. But at some point, I've heard that the network shows will start to return. I've been looking forward to that because I do enjoy a few of them. Like I watched The Blacklist. I'm watching Navy SEALs. Is that right? SEAL Team. And then the reboot of Magnum PI. I've been enjoying that. That's been pretty good. Actually, the Magnum, like I was a big fan of Magnum PI, the original, when I was young, right? And so, I'm a big fan of that. Like Tom Selleck, how could you replace Tom Selleck? And then to do it again with Jay Hernandez. Jay Hernandez is nothing like. Jay Hernandez is no Tom Selleck, right? But after, I must say, they did find a way to make a Magnum without Tom Selleck that wasn't trying to be the old show, that is enjoyable in its own right. I think it's a very enjoyable show, and I've come to enjoy both versions of it. Rusty says, Navy SEALs, the Charlie Sheen one, that would, God here. Did you engage hostiles? I vaporize hostiles. That guy, Paxton, man, he is just an epic, epic actor. So Dice says Tom was actually on an episode of Rockford Frost. Was he on Rockford Frost as Magnum or just as some other character? Because I know that they had a couple crossovers. I remember their crossover with Simon & Simon years ago. That was a good one. And he did a crossover with Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. I think some of these like remakes, like the Magnum one has been good. The Battlestar Galactica was a solid one on its own. And then I've heard again that they're going to do another version of Battlestar soon, which some people are kind of like, But I'm interested to see, like, Battlestar Galactica in 1978 was a really kind of light, campy adventure, despite the fact that, complete genocide of the 12 colonies. But it was light, it was enjoyable, and but I guess it was reflective of the 70s. And then when the 2004 version came out, right after 9/11, dark, brooding, everything is just like down, which was reflective of America, and the show itself was very reflective of what we're doing, with internment camps and, secret police and things like that. I thought it was really, really reflective of that. So, if they were to make a third version of Battlestar in our time now, we're not that dark of a society. Well, we're dark to a certain extent, I wonder if, I wonder what kind of form that would take, Would it be hopeful? Would it be dark? Would it be whatever, Oh, an opposite of Rockford, smart, not in debt. Oh yeah, not in debt. That's definitely not Thomas Magnum. But yeah, that Navy SEALs movie that Rusty mentioned, that was I really liked that one. That was my favorites with Michael Biehn and oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy that got killed in the movie, Dennis Haysbert. That was a good time. Actually, I worked with Dennis. My very first movie in the movie business that I worked on was a movie called Major League 2, where Dennis Haysbert plays Pedro Serrano, the power baseball hitter. So I had an office back then at the production offices. Dennis would come and hang out with us a couple times over the year. Good guy. I always liked working with him. And again, with that movie, that also had another Navy SEAL alumni, Charlie Sheen. Charlie was usually strung out, usually looking pretty rough. But when you act during the day, you do drugs, and have a bevy of women at night, you're going to look pretty rough. I wanted to look that rough. It just never worked out for me. So this, as we're getting closer, there is a little more of a bite on the tongue. I mean, the real thing that I can say is that it's just this cigar just shows refinement, sophistication, smoothness, and level of elegance that's just different than what we're experiencing now with cigars in modern times. It really is, in many respects, a throwback to a different time. A throwback that I think is quite enjoyable. So what's going on this weekend? Got anything going on? Let me know. Drop those in the comments because, always kind of interested to know what's happening with people. Some of my friends yesterday, they were talking about traveling, like I mentioned that earlier, one of the ideas was to go to a all-inclusive somewhere, which I'm not big. Then they were like, well, we can go down to rent a house in the Outer Banks. It's one of those things for me that's like, it's a group of friends that I enjoy hanging out with. So, if they want to do a trip, I'll probably go along wherever they want to go, especially if it's driving distance. And I know a lot of people go to the Outer Banks, but to me, that just doesn't seem exciting. Like, what am I going to do there? They're not a cigar smoking crowd, so what am I going to smoke outside by myself? So if you've been to the Outer Banks, what do you do there? What's there to do? Like, what's the attraction? I don't really understand that. Drive 6, 7, 8 hours for what exactly? Also, a guy's asking, what's this bracelet? Is it a friendship bracelet? This is a bracelet that's made by my niece. So she was like, oh, I'm going to make a bracelet for you. It's from these little gummy rings. And so that's what that is. Just give it to me today. Back to the OBX thing. I'm not a beach guy, Even though I lived in Hawaii, I don't really go to the beach and hang out. The idea of lying down on the beach and just hanging out on the beach, that just never has appealed to me. In the times that I've done it, I've gone there, sat on the beach, and I'm just kind of after about 10 minutes, I'm like, what are we doing? What's this all about? We're just lying out. I don't know what that's about. When I used to go to the beach a lot, I would go to bodyboarding, body surfing, something like that. And so I would do that. Very specific. But hanging out at the beach, I don't know. It just seems so the day seems so long. But speaking of the today actually turned out to be really nice. I don't know how it was in Jersey for you guys, but here in Baltimore area, man, it was low 60s, so it was pretty mild. I remember because we were frying the turkey outside. I went outside to check, and I was wearing long pants, and I was wearing a long sleeve T-shirt, and I was like, wow, this is kind of warm. I thought for a moment I was like, I should go back in and change. So the smoke's been really good. It's still got nice flavor. Even though it's gotten warmer on the tongue, and we're getting close to the end, I still want to continue with it because it's still quite enjoyable. But again, it's enjoyable in a way that's very different than a lot of the stuff we're smoking nowadays, And despite the fact that the only real flavor notes I've really been discussing here so far is just a nice rounded tobacco, refined tobacco, without a lot of the real distinct flavor notes we've talked about in the past, it's still much more enjoyable than quite a few of the cigars we've smoked on this show, the ones that were more single note, static kind of cigars. I mean, this really has been, in some respects, a static flavor cigar. The flavor has maintained itself throughout the entire experience. but it's very enjoyable, and I think that's beyond just the whole idea of like it's in the mind that this is a 25-year-old cigar, so it should have some level of refinement. It really is. I think it really is a refined cigar that is really nice. And I don't think that it's been a while since I've had other La Glorias, like modern La Gloria Cubanas, but I don't think the ones that I've had in recent memory, none of them are like this. They're not as good. They're just not as refined. They're just not as smooth. They're just not as balanced. Like this is just balanced and just beautiful. And I'm sorry to talk so well about it because it's something, it's not something anyone can get anymore. And another thing, like it's not heavy on your palate. And even it's holding up really well. So next week we're going to be back again, and we're going to be on book with our retinue of cigars. I've still got the lineup. I'd be honest with you, this past week I've been so busy with other things I didn't really plan it out, but I do have the cigars here from the Tobacco Leaf. And let's see, what do we have lined up here? All right, so coming up, and I don't know, I have to figure out the right order that's going to be, but the cigars, so I've got cigars now that are going to last us through the end of the year and into the new year. So we've got the M. Bombay MQBA Toro, the Intemperance Whiskey Rebellion 1974 Jefferson, which is one of the newer ones, the Illusione Candela HL, the Cedrus the Hogan by Southern Draw. That's going to be coming up. The Undercrown Dogma Maduro, the Tatuay Cabaguan number 54, the Robusto size, and then the Four Kicks Capa Especial Sublime. So those are the ones going to be coming up. I'll figure out the order and put those in the show notes for next week so that we'll know. And yeah. I mean, look at that. We're coming really down to the end of it. And it's still holding together. Last week's cigar, I think it was last week's cigar, was unraveling by this point. The wrapper had come off. The binder was coming off. This old cigar, half my age, still holding together. Still producing really lovely flavor. Now I'm really getting to the point of pinching it. I'm going to put that down. That's good. All right. I guess that's going to be good for this week. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a great Thanksgiving to spend with you. I appreciate you coming down and spending that with me as well. And we're going to keep it going next week, 8 o'clock Thursday night. We're going to continue on. We're going to go back to our normal format with one of our program cigars, as well as back to another. Maybe I think this week we will do the nice. We did the naughty last week, so we'll do the nice coming up this coming week. And yeah, that'll be good. So if you have any thoughts on things you'd like to see, drop them in the comments or yeah. All right, other than that, thanks for tuning in, and Really appreciate you spending the time with us, and I really appreciate you. Have a great one, and happy Thanksgiving.